Hey y'all, come here. Monkey, you don't have to stay with me. You can go if you want. Um, so first and foremost, good like early afternoon to everybody. Thank you guys so much for joining me again. Um, I am Tiff, and I am the brilliant, marvelous, miraculous, strange, awesome host for today. Anyways, so what's up, fam? A couple of things. Okay, so like, I had shared this on my TikTok platform. Obviously, I had to use very, very discreet verbiage because had I not, y'all already know the way, the way that works. So, first things first. I just wanted to share this testimony because I too was vaccine injured because of the ignorance of my parents, which, I look back at it and quite frankly, like, some people choose to enlighten themselves and others choose to stay where they're at and go with the lies and the narrative and this and that and the other. Which, to each their own. But some of us choose to enlighten ourselves to the point that we are unstoppable. Okay? And so, with that being said, um, I remember as a 7-year-old getting rubella. So the term they use is MMR, right? But I believe it was a subsector of rubella or something like that. And basically I broke out in a unusually high temperature. I broke out in rash all over the place. And this was due part mostly because of the ignorance of my mom when it came to getting the recommended schedule. So long story short, I just remember, going to the hospital and feeling that, sensation of the freeway. Because y'all know when you drive on the freeway how you feel the bumps and all that. So I just remember feeling the sensation, being rushed to the hospital, you know. And when I got there, no child, whether they be a baby, an infant, or toddler who can understand more, ever wants to hear the words, you gotta get a spinal. Because what that means is they're basically gonna give you the same process as an epidural, but they're going to, instead of injecting, they are extracting to test. And in my experience with that, so like I said, that was very rude. Don't do that. So like I said, um, pretty much, I was 7 at the time when this transpired, and they removed fluid from my spine, close to like over here to the top of my head, just to see if I had spinal fluid, and I did. So upon them doing that, they took an X-ray of my head. They also saw that I had fluid as well surrounding my head, which, so there's like a normal amount of fluid that your brain needs, right, to be okay. And then there's the one that's caused by this recommended schedule crap. And so I just remember hearing, okay, we gotta give Tiffany a spinal to see what's going on. I was like, those dreadful words that no parent and no child ever wants to hear. And and then I remember him saying he came back like 30 minutes later because y'all know the way the ER is. And so he came back and he was like, I seen that there's fluid around her spine and her brain. Unfortunately, we do have to put her in a medically induced coma so we can further treat her because they had to give me an army of fluids. They had to give me antibiotics. They had to make my fever low. It was just a horrendous, and I mean horrendous, traumatizing experience all around. And it doesn't even matter if you're like a 1 year old toddler or younger, or if you're a big kid and you're a grown toddler like my son's age 6. Um, it's the same kind of traumatizing. And for this reason, this is why I say look up and do your research as to what you're putting in your children's bodies, because these people will never tell you the truth. It's quite the opposite. They will lie to you and destroy factual, actual truth, and the adverse effects of them. It's an industry, just like selling cars is an industry. Nothing different than that. It's disgusting, it's disgruntled, and it's at the expense of our children. So I think we owe it to our kids not to be lab rats anymore for any fucking body. Um, with that being said, I just wanted to jump up on here really quick, fam. Just share that quick experience. Also, I forgot to add in a couple more things. So basically, as a daughter of my mom, so the doctor said that my survival rate was really low, like meaning that I was due to die. And so I kind of faithfully accepted my fate, and she just was like, who cares, was her whole drawn out demeanor. And so basically at the end of that, basically she told the doctor, I don't care about what happens to her, I just care that you and I get our money. And they literally started discussing how they were going to rip me open and sell each organ out of my body, starting with my brain all the way down to my lungs and my kidney and my liver and pretty much anything that's useful in there. And so I was really like shocked. I was just overcome by, heartbreak and sadness. And then I got really upset for a period of time. I'm like, I'm never going to listen to you again. I couldn't even fathom or understand why this biological woman who brought me into this world would say such an awful thing. But she's narcissistic. She has a mental condition all on her own. So, I mean, you can't expect much out of a person like that because they require a lot of help themselves to even therefore understand their own issues. But understand that I'm 36 and I'm understanding that now. As a child, it made me just want to be the most and completely away from her that I've ever been before. Um, so growing up, my mom always thought that work was more important, and it's fine. That should be the priority of every parent, is to work, to provide, and be the best provider that you can be. However, not at the expense of your children. There are limitations. If you got one job and it's okay and it pays you all right and you can get by with it, accept that. Be okay and be grateful. Express that gratitude. Don't go too much and so far out and going above and beyond that your kids begin to feel left out, drawn out, and left behind, because that is unacceptable. That is not okay. And a lie, I find oftentimes the parents that do that are the parents who do not want to be involved with their children. The parents who want to stray away. Um, in my case, my mom was a narcissist, so that was the foundation of her behaviors. Um, I don't know everybody else's story. I can't pretend to know, but I can tell you as a person who survived my mom's narcissism, and as a mother of 5 myself, I would have been a mother of 8 beautiful babies. However, my other 3 babies passed away. Um, but, um, you know, I look at the differences, and I have a very different demeanor. I'm pretty lenient as a mom. However, I will not do disrespect, and I will definitely not do no bad attitudes or any of that. And that's the biggest difference between my mom. I'm not like hounding them every second of their life. No, I'm just simply saying, hey, let's keep the house clean, let's get by, and that's what matters most. My mom, on the other hand, has to have this um, thing for power. She has to feel like she's above and can manipulate you and can control you every second of your life, because if she doesn't, she'll fall and crumble. But Long story short, that's what they basically said. And from that point that she started discussing selling my organs instead of caring enough to make sure and ensure that I survived and got through the healing process, that's when my respective opinion about her really changed. And then it even changed more when I became a mom. I had my eldest son back in 2017. And I will never forget because I was already in early labor. I was having my contractions, feeling all this pain. And my mom was fighting with me and she just wouldn't stop. And then at one point, I swear I just heard the demon in her voice. And she was like, "Oh, well, you can lie to your husband and say that you are going to go do something with me and we're going to go get you an abortion." I'm like, "I am pro life. And even if I was abused, I wouldn't take it against a child. I would take it against the aggressor, period." And there are a handful of abuse survivors who will basically state the same. Even if conception had been had, we would not take it out on the children, the babies in our wombs. We would take it against the criminal, the person who's doing it. Um, because the child, in reality, the child had nothing to do with it. It was just an outcome that happened. And it's interesting because a lot of these women who go through these will offer that the excessive opposite of what I said. However, I am a three-time survivor of domestic violence, and I'm not gonna say the other form of abuse because it's YouTube, but I will say I am a survivor of that as well. And even if I had conceived, I would not take it out on the child. I would definitely keep the baby, and I would make sure and ensure that the criminal gets to do in time. Period. And that's just what it is. So many other women of the world who are spiritually afflicted, who have this Jezebel spirit with them constantly. These are why these mass movements are there in the first place. A bunch of radical women who have one way narratives and perceptions. And that's where we come in. We change that. There's adoption centers. There are, families you could, walk through the adoption process with and give that baby if you truly can't handle it. Literally, there's processes like that can help you. Um, and, you know, going back to my mom, going back to my mom, that's basically how it was. I grew up with a narcissistic mom, and I'm so blessed that I always dreamed of being the exact opposite. And that's just what it is. Um, yeah, my kids are a bunch to handle and this, that, and the other, but that's being a parent. And really my opinion changed the moment she spoke those words. I was just in a state of shock and dismayed. But I wanted to jump up in here and share that with you guys because I feel like you guys should know my truth, and that's all but a piece of what happened to me as a little girl. I was only 7 when this happened. That she was trying to sell my organs, and because his doctor didn't have enough faith because he was a man of the world and spiritually he was deprived. He was like an alive man but dead walking. The real Walking Dead. You can literally be very much alive, but spiritually you are very much dead. And that's kind of what looked like what happened. He lacked faith, and he started saying, well, it doesn't look like Tiffany's gonna survive. There's like about a 95% of survival rate. And I came out of the coma, and I ended up being, miraculously, I ended up being fine. um and to hear my mother, the narcissist, mind you, say, "Oh, I don't care what happens at the end with her. As long as you and I can get our money." That broke me into pieces. And as I aged over the years, I kind of began to understand that she's narcissistic, that she has this condition on her own to where she has to feel that, and if she doesn't, she'll crumble. And so I stopped giving into her psychological warfare and her childish little arguments and all that. I will not engage with her anymore. I absolutely will not. I'm not gonna put my energy there. I'm gonna take care of my husband, the best that I can. I'm going to take the very best care of all five of my beautiful, miraculously strong kids. And that's just what it is. And apart from that, my obligation and the whole reason that God granted my life back to me was to save humanity. It was revealed to me. And at first, I felt like it was a very big obligation. But I began to slowly and surely understand what God meant by that. I'm like, Holy Mother of Fuzzy, you put me here to save humanity. That's a massive job. But I'm slowly getting the truth injected into the world, regardless of the fact. And that's where it matters. That's where the biggest differences begin. Um, and that's just what it is, fam. Anyways, y'all, I love you all. I hope this video was insightful. And please remember, if you are dealing with a narcissistic spouse or parent or brother or sibling, sister, brother, um, remember that, you have to remain strong, in your faith. You got to stay true to yourself. Um, remember that you're not stuck there physically. Once you get to be a certain age, you can move out, you can get a roommate, you can just live your life, period. You're not bound to their chains that they put upon you. And just because they say awful things about you doesn't necessarily mean it's about you, but it's everything to do with them as a narcissistic person. So just remember that. And to all my domestic violence survivors and rape survivors out there, I salute you, men and women. I give you guys so much love, so much respect and prayers. And please remember, you are loved and appreciated above it all. And God is, was, and will always be the one who walks before us. I love you, fam.